Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Monday, October 24th, 2016 meeting of the Administrative Committee of the City Council of Moscow. On hand today is Gina Terusio to my right, John Weber to my left, and Gary Riedner to help out with the staff advisory services today. The first thing on our agenda today is the approval of the Administrative Committee meeting from September 26th, the minutes from that meeting. Entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Yeah. I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Okay.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved. The second thing on the agenda is the Walmart Community Grant Application, Shop with a Cop. And Lisa Anderson is going to tell us all about that. And
Sean's going to join me.
all right.
Shane.
Or Shane, I'm sorry.
Officer Shane's helping us out.
Everyone knows it's fine. Doesn't bother me.
What's Shane's last name?
Keen, K-E-E-N.
Okay. Hi, Shane.
Hello.
So I first wanted to start by saying that Shane brought this to me, or to the department, as his idea, and I think it's an excellent idea, and it's really giving back to the community, so I'm excited that he had sought this out and is doing this. So, as I said in my CCSR, we are looking at applying to Walmart for $2,500, which we would receive in gift cards, for the officers to host an event where they would be able to shop with children whose families are lower income within the community. And the officers would then take them and shop for their family at Walmart. They'll have breakfast. And so it's just, getting kids familiar with the police officers and having a positive experience with them. So Walmart has a community grant program online, so we'll go ahead and submit for that. And once this is approved, but Shane has already been working and talking to Walmart, and they're excited about doing this and sponsoring it. And I'll let him share with you a little bit about the program in general. There's several other cities that do it. Lewiston does it, so kind of about where you got the idea. And
Yeah, so Shop with the Cop is a nationwide program many law enforcement agencies do across the nation. What I would like to do, I've already reached out to elementary schools within Latah County, so it's not just going to be something that's confined to the city of Moscow. It's going to bring the entire community, Latah County, together. At this point, we'll be able to, I think, have about 33 children. That'll allow each child to have roughly $75 to spend on their family. Next year, the total amount we can apply for at one agency is $2,500. So next year, I'm hoping to incorporate Latah County and possibly get 5,000, then obviously double the amount of children. So it's new to us. It's not a new program by any means, but yeah, I really think it's a great way to, especially in the times we're having right now, get some of those children who have had negative experiences with police officers and have them see what we're really like. So.
Shane has also been in touch with Health and Welfare, and they're also making some recommendations. And so they'll have a list put together ahead of time and know. So.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea from the community policing standpoint, and like you say, get kids to know that policemen are their friends, and
Yes.
I think and also help them out with their family situation during the holidays. I think it's great, and I think we should go ahead and put this on the consent agenda unless Gary has something else to add to that.
The only question I had, just in the interest of full disclosure, is there any match associated with this grant?
Not that I saw. Was there, Shane?
I did not see that when I was looking at it.
No matching funds?
I don't
Straight
think
grant?
so, not for the community grant program.
My review didn't note that there was one either, so I just wanted to know if there's some other information. So with that, certainly if you want to put it on the consent agenda, that would be fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I have one question.
Certainly.
We're talking 2,500 here and 32 kids. If the number of kids grows, is there any way, do we have any funds that we could, as a city, put into this if necessary?
We don't have a community grant program anymore. We have pretty strict rules on what the cities donations are prohibited under the Constitution, so they have to be for a broader community purpose. In fact, the city attorney and I have just been talking about that very thing over the last couple of weeks. So I don't know of anything now, John, but it would seem to me if there was a big interest in this, perhaps we could do some community outreach to determine if some other businesses would be willing, maybe perhaps through the chamber even, to supplement the funds if possible.
Okay. I just didn't want to put us in a situation where either the number of kids had to be cut off or the amount that they were able to use got to the point where it was insignificant.
Yep.
And so,
Yeah, and like I said, I've already reached out to every elementary school within Latah County, and we're going to have plenty of children. So, I mean,
John, means are there going to be more kids than we can
we're
fund?
going to have to turn people down. Yeah, I mean, but they're going to be chosen by the counselors within the school and with help from health and welfare. So,
I'm sure there's going to be more need than we can help this year. So we'll just have to cut it off and
since it's
see.
a totally local deal, I don't know that we would have a whole lot of trouble having people reach into their wallet and take out a $20 bill and
yeah.
throw it into the pot. So, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I'm going to take my city council hat off for a minute, put my chamber hat on. Let's have a conversation.
Okay.
I think
That
this
sounds
would be
good.
kind of a cool moment to be able to say, in conjunction with,
Yeah.
you know. So, okay, there's my chamber hat on. City council
So
hat.
we just need to make sure there's people from the sheriff's office that said they would attend, and I think the ISP
Idaho
said
State
they would
Police.
attend. So we need to make sure that we have enough officers too to handle the number of children for the time frame that Walmart
Sure.
has offered us. So
Yeah.
just coordinating everything.
So the logistics would be, we need the council's consent to move ahead with this, and then we'll deal with the logistics as it is approved.
Yeah, and we're slated to do it on December 4th. And so
So
we
we got
also
a
have a
month.
time constraint.
So, yeah, so
Okay.
if it is on the agenda for the meeting that's the first Monday of November, then you should give you a month to
Yes.
square that away. That'd
Yep.
be good. And then the next year, where the county would be involved in it,
Hopefully, yes.
that's a thing they
a
normally do. You do it with the city, and then they add on.
That's what
county.
the manager at Walmart told me, because he used to run the Shop with the Cop program down in Clarkston at the Clarkston Walmart, and he said that they'd have multiple agencies put in for the grant. So
All right.
I think it's a great
Sounds
thing.
great.
Yeah.
So we'll do more planning for next year
yeah,
ahead of time.
Well, get the boat off the sand this year.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 Great. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
You were right, Chief. Didn't take very long.
All right, so I guess we decided we're putting that on consent agenda, didn't we? Yes. Okay.
Good.
Item number 3 on today's agenda is Idaho Transportation Department Vehicle Purchase Funding Agreement. Lisa's on board with that one as well.
Yes. This is a grant application that we submitted about a year and a half ago, actually, but it was for funding that is for the FY16 year, starting with October 1. And I had included in your packet the list of what the entire application included. And we've been working with ITD in splitting the project into 3 parts. And so the first contract that they provided us with was to purchase the van pool van. And so that's what is included in your packet today, is that grant agreement for that purchase. The match has already been allocated, and actually has came from van pool fees for replacement costs that we've accumulated since we've started the program. And so we just need today to go ahead and get approval for the mayor to sign the application, or the contract funding agreement, I guess it's called here. And then we'll submit that, and the ball is in my court to get the other ones rolling. We will be doing the environmental reviews over the winter and preparing for a spring. We'll probably try to bid this out early January, February, but we have to get our environmentals approved first for the other parts.
But the total amount of the grant is $208,500, right? And then 35 of that is coming out for this vehicle out of that.
Right, the
Those
grant amount for the vehicle is $28,000, and the city has a $7,000 match, which is in streets budget, correct, Gary?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it is similar to the last request. I think
And I'll
it's
just
a good idea.
Not much of a downside in this one, is there?
Yeah.
Huh?
I'll state too that even though we're purchasing a 15-passenger van, that the maximum seating that they usually put is 12 people in there, so that they have some room for bags and different things and a little bit of room. Yeah.
The 35,000, I'm assuming that's enough?
For this type of van, yes. We actually just purchased one out of city funding.
Yes, for Parks and Rec, I believe.
And Parks and Rec, I think, got the older one, and then,
Oh, that's right.
yeah. Yes,
But that's
yeah.
enough to meet the needs?
yes.
It seems like a inexpensive price for a 15-passenger van.
That's what I
doesn't it? Yeah.
thought. you know.
Well, the fleet department had gotten bids in advance for us, and I spoke with Rick and just a couple weeks ago, and actually he felt that that was still sufficient. So,
Okay.
That's excellent.
yeah.
Sweet.
All right. I guess I would recommend that we move this one forward to the council meeting 1st of November, and we can consent agenda this one as well, I believe.
Yes, sir.
I think that's a
I
good
can't
idea.
see we'll get any disagreement from any other counselor on that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Next up, we've got a report from Dave Schott on the revised street tree planting program. By the way, Dave, thanks very much for getting the lines painted on the pathway, on the
absolutely.
Paradise Path. I think that's been well received. I've heard several positive comments about that's
Well, thank you.
keeping them from getting run over, so.
Yeah,
Thank you for
I'll
working on that.
pass that on to staff. Well, good afternoon. Again, this is a report for the revised street tree planting program. We wanted to get a sense from the administrative committee if staff's moving in the right direction. So I wanted to start off with a little bit of background of our current program, the results of that program, and then take you through some of our revisions to the street tree planting program, proposed revisions at this point. So our existing program was established through the Tree Planting Dedication Fund resolutions. We can read them up there, with the latest being 2000-02, to facilitate planting of trees in new subdivisions. Currently, the developer is required to pay $100 per tree as allocated to the Parks and Recreation Department to the Tree Planting Dedication Fund. This is based on the final plat that Community Development sends over to Parks and Recreation. This program only supplies the cost of the trees, not the cost of an installation. So to characterize this program, it's really a voluntary type program for homeowners to plant street trees. The results of the program, we're seeing about a 61% utilization rate through all the subdivisions that are part of this program, which isn't too bad. It's not 100%, but it's not bad. So with that being the case, in 2015, Mike Ray and Community Development really were leading the charge last year and kind of getting this set up. There was a sense from the Street Tree Advisory Committee that we wanted to look at how we could increase street trees planted. This committee was formed. The memberships included a developer, contractor, attorney, tree commission members, a member of the general public, and Planning and Zoning Commission, a member of that commission. They came up with some proposed revisions to the street tree planting. This was considered by the Moscow Tree Commission on July 5th. They were all in favor. The major revisions included, instead of the developer putting into the fund, the contractor submits plans to the Community Development Department. This will include new subdivisions, new principal structure, substantial improvement to an existing structure, to the Community Development Department. This will require the contractor to provide us financial security in the amount of $375 per tree, as allocated by the Parks and Recreation Department during the platting process. The $375 will include the purchase of the tree and the cost of installation, so it has both ends of it. Within 6 months, certificate of occupancy, lot owner is required to submit a permit to plant to my office. I'll evaluate that. Then they'll be required to plant trees within 24 months of the issuance of certificate of occupancy. So it gives them 2 years to get trees in the ground. They could be planted by the homeowner or a contractor paid by the homeowner. Once the trees have been planted and inspected, the city will release that financial security to the homeowner. So if there was one tree, it would be that 375 times however many trees were allocated. So that would go back to the homeowner once the work is completed. As I mentioned earlier, our program now is really, the essence of it is voluntary. The program is mandatory, and I just want to make that point clear to this committee. If they don't do it within 24 months, the city will hire somebody to go put those trees in the public right away. So that's...
David?
Yes.
As far as your third bullet there, or second bullet, trees can be planted by the homeowner, so the homeowner can actually install the trees themselves.
Correct.
Okay. And after they show they've been installed, then they would get the $375 from the city?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So as I mentioned earlier, we just want to make sure this is passing the, I'd call sniff test, to make sure staff's going in the right direction. So our recommendation is to proceed with an ordinance change and resolution in accordance to the recommendations of the Street Tree Advisory Committee. With this direction, we'll draft the ordinance resolution, present it to the Tree Commission for approval, also the Planning and Zoning Commission as with a public hearing attached to that, for their consideration before we're back at committee and ultimately council. So.
What do we have in terms of restrictions on the type of trees that can be? Are there like certain genetic requirements on these trees so they minimize the root damage to sidewalks and things like that?
Good question, Jim. Right now we've got the recommended street tree planting guide that the Moscow Tree Commission had put together. That's kind of the Bible that I use when I'm talking to people. When they submit the permit to plant a tree, that'll be reviewed by my office. And it'll have to be part of those guides. We don't want to plant the wrong tree in the wrong space. So it'll be a tree that's...
You do get guidelines, though?
They will. Yep. When I get the permit to plant, that'll trigger me to go into action and tell them what they can and can't plant.
So we don't have situations like a bunch of ponderosa pines next to the road and
Yep.
everything's bulging up after 6 months.
Sure. And that's no different than the current program we have. I work with people to get the right trees in the right spots. So.
Excellent.
I spend time with the Tree Commission, and they have gone over any number of questions and options and possibilities, and I think they've thoroughly researched the whole gamut here, and this is essentially what they have been talking about, and I think we really ought to go forward with it. One of the things that I would like to see is when we put in trees or have them put in, if they, instead of have the root ball and the burlap, if we could go to, I think they called it the bucket approach, where
Containers.
the roots go further down before they start going out. Apparently it is a small amount more expensive at the beginning, but at the end.
A lot less sidewalk rebuilding.
And then the trees also have a much larger, much more chance of staying alive. And Don Regan was the one that, and he explained that a whole lot better than I just did. But I think that's when people put a tree in, and if it lives, they're more apt to water it, and more, and or in the process of living, so it grows, gets a good chance to work, and then there again, the town is better off because we have more live trees. So,
I had a couple of questions, and call me the new girl.
Sounds good.
With no history here, but so at the 61% playing along rate that you had, what did you see were the barriers? They just weren't. It wasn't mandatory, or why did you only have 61% play
Good
along?
question, Gina. A lot of this was before my time, but I'll just
Sure.
give you my opinion. I think we had good utilization in a lot of neighborhoods where we got the word out. And that's one of my goals going into next season is our forestry intern did an evaluation of existing subdivisions in the tree planting dedication fund. I've got addresses, I've got planting spaces. Our first step is to get the word out. So they're getting letters. I've done a kind of a pilot program this fall, and I'm getting a pretty good response. So I'm trying to get those utilization rates up.
Okay, and so that the $100 at that point was like essentially a rebate, right? I mean, if someone would plant a tree, they would get this $100 back.
The way the program worked is they would submit that permit to plant. I would evaluate it, make sure the subdivision had the funding, and issue them a voucher for $100 per
Okay.
tree that they would use like cash at the
Yeah.
local nurseries.
Okay.
But this was just for the tree. All the planting was
Not for the
on
installation.
their shoulders, so to speak, and their back
Yeah.
to get the trees in the ground.
So that, you're thinking, is probably part of another barrier to entry into the program, is that then they had to install it.
It wasn't turnkey,
Work
so I
and-
would agree, yep. It took effort on the homeowner's part to get the trees in the ground.
Okay,
Yeah.
so hence the bump to $375. Now, you're paying for a little bit of the installation or all of the installation too.
Yeah, the 375, I bounced this off the tree commission. I also called a couple of our local contractors. About 2.5 times on labor to tree, so that'll get you $150
Fair,
trees,
yeah.
and then the labor's the remainder of that, so.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I just wanted to make sure that I understood it.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
thank you.
You have anything to add, Mr. Ray?
I know, and I think Dave covered it well. So, unless you have any questions about the street tree advisory committee that we went through, I don't have anything else to add.
Mayor Lambert has something to add or
I
ask.
have a question, and that has, I didn't hear you say how many trees per lot. You're talking about $375 for a contract. You've got some guy who wants 10 trees in front of his house. Do you, I mean, it could be quite an expense.
Thank
I
you
mean,
for a
and,
good
and
question.
we've got folks that would love to have 10 trees. We've got lots of folks that would have one tree. So how many trees per lot, I think, is an important thing to bring up.
This won't be any different than our existing program. So a corner lot would have 4 trees, a regular lot would have 2 trees, cul-de-sacs would have 1. There's irregular lots, those will be based on the linear foot and for large trees, so every 30 feet. So when I'm doing the plat, I'll measure it out, and if there's 150 feet, there would be, what is the math there? 5, yes, thank you. 5 trees allocated for that lot, times the 375. So those requirements are the same as they currently exist. It's just the dollar requirement.
We have current tree planting standards that we deploy.
Well, I see most areas, I see like 2 per lot, but it didn't hear anything about your presentation, so I thought that's something to be important.
I have another question for you. Is that the 375, like if I am a tree aficionado and I'd rather have a higher end tree, do I have to pay for installation with the 375, or does that just come as a rebate to me? Like what if I plant it myself and I want a $400 tree?
That's a very good question. So the 375 would be the financial security the city's holding. That would be all you would be eligible to get back. If you wanted to buy I'll call it $1,000 tree,
Sure.
the remainder of that I believe would be on the homeowner.
But there's no restriction on what I put that 375 towards.
No, as long as it falls within the recommended tree planting guide and it's the right tree for the right
And it
location.
gets okayed and that
Yep,
we do all the,
and it's
okay.
approved. Yep.
And
That's
that planning guide, having read through it, and the types of trees, they help you a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the information there is such that if you like this kind of a tree, but I don't think you ought to put this kind of a tree, and they'll get you, the information is there, they'll help you get squared away so that the tree you do put in is one that has got a high rate of possible success, and you won't have to pull it out or pull what's left of it out in a year or so.
Yeah.
So if you read the guide, you're probably not going to plant a palm tree or a banana tree.
Right, yeah, that's,
Darn, that's what I was thinking of.
Sure. And part of
I
my
was
job
thinking
is
of
making sure that
bananas.
somebody plants a tree in 40, 50 years, people aren't having their sidewalks pulled up because the space was too small and looking down the road, so.
and if they want to plant something in the middle of their yard, they can do whatever they want. That's their yard, but this is for the public right-of-way and making it more appealing, but still something that will last.
Well, I guess we would be in agreement that we want to move forward with a resolution to put this into effect.
Okay. Well, thank you for the direction. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Staff has nothing further.
Well, I guess I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thanks, guys.
We are adjourned.
Motion carries. Efficient meeting, people.
Yeah.